Hello and welcome to Quick Take TA here on Landy's Crypto Corner. Today is July 26th, 2024. We're going to look at Bitcoin today and follow up with our Wednesday Quick Take video and essentially from the Monday macro video as well, because we will be talking about the weekly and 5-day as they are they're closing at the same time. We do have some other time frames closing at the same time as well. But let's jump into what has occurred since we last spoke. Well, Bitcoin had closed on Wednesday below the 65.5 level. And I had mentioned at that point that, it was likely that Bitcoin could test down to $64,000 and below. As long as we didn't see any closes below this higher low here at 63,200 to 300, then, trend was intact. Well, on Thursday's candle, it did dip down there. Got bought up around that 63,400 level, closed above 65.5, which then, from a structural point of view, as long as Bitcoin's closing above there, was going to give us our next upside target right back to 67,272, a level that had been previously playing in these levels very, very cleanly before testing $68,000. And coming into Friday, we got both of those. We saw it testing the 67,272 on lower term timeframes and then back up to $68,000. And because of where Friday closed, it actually put in another higher low. Now, these two higher lows are very close to each other. We've got the 63,200 essentially, and then 63,400 higher low. Structural higher lows on the closes are quite a bit different though. With the structural higher low coming in just under $64,000. And then, of course, this higher low coming in at around 65,350 to 360. So that does mean that essentially the same criteria or conditions need to be looked out for. Any closes back below 65.5, watch out for $64,000. Any closes below there, it's very likely it's going to be running the higher low structure. If we do see any closes below there, it's not a death sentence, but I would step down my targets to this high right here at around 62,800, and then subsequently down to this cluster of candles where there is some nice order block candles in here at around $62,000. If we did start to see closes below there, then I would target back to the top side of this risk zone at 60,000 to 60,300. Anywhere back in there, we're looking back to, the bottom side here around 58.3 to 4, which is, essentially the area that was acting as a rejective zone right here. That was this wick low that was a front run of this close open, which was the prior lower low before we put in the 63.5 lower low wicks and the $55,500 lower low closes on the daily. So that would be, just things to watch out for the downside here. But to the upside, pretty simple. Closes above 68,000 and especially above 68,500, this candle wick high over here. Then I would be looking for Bitcoin to run this breakdown. This was the breakdown from the highs. So we saw the high put in up here on a close. We saw that wick come in at 68,300 or so. And then the lower the lower high swing and close coming in there at around 70,200. Excuse my voice. I've been talking all week. I will discuss actually a surprise that we got on the Friday Spaces today, where we did have Scott Page of Pink Floyd join our Spaces, courtesy of Block City. Also had a really nice conversation with Vault Layer as well. So I'll talk about that a little bit later, but my voice is a little ragged right now. I do apologize. Now, you can see how, this 67,272 level in the lower term timeframes would be one to watch. Anywhere below there, you're looking, wicks around 66 back to that 65.5. So understand that. Anywhere above $68,000, though, I would be targeting the top side of this breakdown around 70,000 to 70,200. If we do see, medium term time frames closing above that area, then I would raise my target to the close open high here at 71.5 to the wicks above it. The failure here at $72,000. This is going to be very important when talking about the longer term time frames. And then above there, of course, the all-time high and higher. Now, that's, basics of trend and support and resistance. Let's go ahead and take a look at volatility, as that is the third key pillar to all of my analysis. By turning on our Bollinger Band set here, this is the Landy Bands. This is a custom indicator that I built with the help of some people within my community. And thank you, JR. So in this case, you can get this for free in the link in the video description on YouTube, or in my X profile. The bit.ly link is going right to this indicator. It's free. You just add it to your favorites. It is not publicly searchable until we publicly release it, but you're more than welcome to grab it if you like, if you would like, rather. Now, from a volatility standpoint, Bollinger Band basis is the 20 simple. It is now above this higher low. And in fact, it's right on the current higher low at around that 63,400 level. So very nice. That's a good thing. That, from a volatility standpoint, if Bitcoin was to come down and test the support, it's fine wicking down into that area and even through it, as long as it's closing above it. Now, Bitcoin did actually close Friday's candle back above the upper first. So you might remember on Wednesday, I had noted that Bitcoin got its close open below the upper first. And, that was another key piece telling us that not only closing inside of this safe zone, but also closing below the lower first, that it was likely going to test down towards this higher low structure in the context of this safe zone or safe pullback zone. Now that Bitcoin is back above the upper first, if it's closing timeframes below the daily above there, which is right around our green line here, this lower high, the first big lower high of this downtrend here in the range, that is that 67,272. This is also the area where Bitcoin put in another lower high. So it had its first big lower high here and the run the highs above here zone, put in another lower high right at that same area at 67, essentially 200 to 300. As long as Bitcoin's staying above there and the upper first, it can oscillate around, but as long as it's closing the end of the dailies, it's more likely going to test the $68,000 level to this 70,000 to 70,200 breakdown, this lower high over here. Above there, from a volatility standpoint, you can see how the daily upper second standard deviation is right in line with this close open right there at 71.5. And then if we did see a breakout in the, bullish control zone up here for support and resistance, I guess I could say, I would be looking up to the 73,835 all-time high. I would give that room between around $73,000 and $75,000 by the upper third there, which is coming in at around 75,500. But roughly, if it starts pushing the all-time high, I'm looking at a zone between 73 and 75. Then above there, 75 to 78, and then 78 to 80, mid to low 80s from there. Looks really good on the daily, nice higher low structure. It is a weekend though. Although it is an eventful weekend, we still have some things going on in regards to Bitcoin Nashville. So, there might be, excess liquidity that comes into the market, both to the upside and downside. So just understand that. Let's go ahead and look at a few other things here. RSI, I do want to check on. Yeah, it's right around the bullish control zone. If it was to put in a high, beware of the RSI head and shoulders. I wouldn't play the pattern-based head and shoulders, but RSI head and shoulders typically has a higher hit rate. It's not really perfect. It's kind of nasty, so maybe not. Maybe disregard that. But looks good. There's no real big in-trend bearish divergence. There is some hidden bearish divergence from the $72,000 highs here, but nothing insane. More corrective than not. We already saw the high come in, and it's already put in a higher low. So looks fine. In fact, there's bullish divergence between these 2 points. It doesn't mark this area as a higher low, but there is technically bullish divergence. So looks good. And yeah, so daily looks good. Weekend, I would be a little tentative around though when it comes to price action. Just keep a close eye on the lower term time frames as it relates to some of what we just talked about on the daily. Moving up the time frames, we're going to have the 2-day close with the weekly. It looks good. Let's check on volatility. And my apologies. I don't know. My voice is definitely shot for the week now. All right. Yeah, we can see bands are starting to twist around. Oh, in fact, we have the potential for higher low structure. I mean, it's kind of already going to paint a low, higher low here. There is a nice swing higher low. So we have the trend break on closes above this lower high at around 63.8 to 64. We have a swing high to swing low set with yesterday's closure. To set the closing low, it's technically already set, but I still need to see it closing above this wick high at around 68,500. I need to see that for continuation, and then I can call it the actual closing low. From a technical point of view, it closed above the closes here, so it is a closing higher low, but I need to see close above 68,500 on the 2-day for continuation into the run the high zone around that 70,000, 70,300 and higher to go and test 71,500 on the daily to $72,000 at these highs here, and then potentially the all-time high and higher. Again, from the 2-day, the criteria is, this was all one move up, swing high to swing low. It's technically around the same area. It closes back below, 63,400, 63,200. Trend is broken again. The uptrend would be broken, and then we, look for possible continuation with lower highs or something like that. But it could still even swing around there, and I think throw bullish divergence, in fact. Yeah. No, maybe not. Not really sure on that one. Momentum is in the overbought zone, 66,262 for the 2-day here. Again, it can stay. This is a regular Stochastic momentum indicator. It is measuring close over close price action. It's not a Stochastic RSI, which measures the velocity of RSI. So this is going to be a little bit slower and can hang out in the overbought and oversold zones for extended periods of time. Looks fine. 3-day. 3-day looks good. Has the potential to throw a hidden bullish divergence here. Where's the bullish control zone? Bullish control zone is actually going to be $72,000. So go figure. It's going to be that lower high structure right there. So this nice lower high structure is the actual 3-day bearish control zone. This is also going to be closing with Sunday's candle. Looks good. Let's look at volatility real quick. See if I see anything interesting. Just a big range. Yeah, big range. So closing above, 68.5 basically, and then we can step it up in terms of volatility right into our, $73,000 area. You can see that even the upper third there is coming in a little bit higher. It's in that in my 75 to 78 zone, but looks good. Looks good. Big range, big range. We do want to see it recovering the upper first. By the end of the week, I'm going to show you in a moment, I think bulls would prefer to see a closure above 68,500, but it's not going to be, we would still have all of next week to try and do that as well. As if we're all Bitcoin, as Bitcoiners, for what we would want to see. 4-day is not relevant right now. 5-day is something to note here. Is the upper second standard deviation skating right across the bottom side of that 71.5 area, which was those daily highs before putting in the wick highs there at $72,000. So that is relevant. And the other thing to be aware of on the on the 5 days, the same thing that I'm going to call out on the weekly, and that is that this is a downtrending structure. It is a bullish downtrending structure. Nice big run up, especially on the weekly and longer term time frames. Even the monthly looks like a giant bull flag. But we have lower highs and lower lows. To break the downtrend, we need to see closes above $72,000. So this is going to be the same for the weekly as well. 5-day looks good as it's been playing out. It's hidden bullish divergence. Edge of the bullish control zone is going to be $69,000, so the prior cycle all-time high. Momentum looks good on closes above $58,000. Looks very, very good. And the weekly. So the weekly is the same thing as the 5-day here. Closes above $72,000 would look really good for, of course, not just breaking structure, but there's going to be a few other things here that I'm going to show you in just a moment. But closes above $72,000 would break the downtrend. And of course, we do need to see at minimum higher low structure on a swing basis, and then of course opens the door for higher low structure even on a closing basis from there for continuation of trend. But we're so close to the prior cycle all-time high that if it breaks out, it could just run and just simply put in swing highs and swing lows while pushing to the upside. So that is something to be aware of. It seems like we are on track for end of August, mid to late August for some kind of a breakout if Bitcoin holds here and continues to try and push up towards the highs. Looking at 62,150 for the momentum pivot. If we do see that closed above, looking likely right now, unless something catastrophic happens over the weekend, then we're looking at a full cross up and confirmation on Stochastic momentum in the bullish direction. Of course, I mentioned this on Wednesday's video. We did see capitulation for miners end. We got the buy signal. We even got directly after the buy signal, into that buy signal, I should say, we got the pullback. We could see wider pullbacks. And in fact, after most of those buy signals, we actually do see wider pullbacks, but might be something more relevant to talk about on Monday for the macro video. As it relates to the weekly, I did want to call this out. I don't want to see shooting star candles on the weekly, and I don't even want to see, dojis that look like this, like long-legged dojis, just from a candlestick point of view. Now, what I will say is the prior week's candle really had no shadows or wicks to the top and bottom, or swings, if you like. In this case, we did see like a backfill of last week, right? About a 60 to 65% backfill. Is not abnormal, but I would want to see closes above, last week's high, or even this week's. We want to see it closing back above last week's high, minimum 68,380. Getting back above that 68.5 level would do it, and then also raise our targets to around $70,000. You can see on the weekly that $70,000 is even above the weekly closing lower high here. So that would be preferable to see that by Sunday, but it's going to have all of next week to do it as well. This is looking like, and it's shaping up like it's going to be a very nice bullish structure. Doesn't mean that it's immediately going to break out and rip to the upside, in blue sky fashions. I'm sticking to my guns. 73 to 75 is a zone, 75 to 78. If you look at the weekly, this is one of the main reasons why as well. From a volatility perspective with the bands, you see above the upper second, that's your 72,800. That's actually, essentially this wick high right here. And then above there, we have the actual all-time high at 73,835. But giving it 73 to 75 kind of puts it in between the upper second and upper third, where the upper third is coming in at 76,400 to 500, depending on your chart. This is Bitcoin's Coinbase chart. But if you look at the 5-day bands, you can see that the 5-day upper third is about $1,000 lower. And I like to use like an average between the upper third standard deviations when you see an expansion to compression. I like to use a combination or an average of the two. So in this case, 74,500 at the upper third in this case for the 5-day, and then 76, gives us about 76,500 gives us about $75,000. So 73 to 75. Above there, we can look 75 to 78, 78 to 80, mid to low 80s from there. So that's really that's kind of where I'm going to stick on that. It doesn't mean when it's blue sky like that, things can run way further than you expect as well. But I like to use volatility to gauge that. We can even go out to the 2-week and you can see, upper second standard deviations at 80. And in fact, on the 2-week, that is going to be closing. You can see this perfect pin of the basis band of volatility here. This is a 20 simple. And then pushing the upper first standard deviation. If it can close above, basically $68,000. That gives us, the upper second as the next volatility level, and that's at $80,000. Then, of course, the upper third there at 92. Um, when we see things in compression like this, like on the 2 week, I I I shy away from looking too far above it. If it was expansion, then I would be looking further above. But because the bands are curling down, we need to see expansion. Now, closures above the upper second will kick it off, and closures above the upper third would put it above into my 75 to 78 range, but would also start to kick off weekly expansion. That would then bleed into the 2 week. 2 week looks really good. 3 week, just dip below the upper first and then back in. Yeah, we'll talk more about this. 3 week is going to be closing with this weekly candle. As long as it's trading above the upper first at 62,800, upper second is fair game. That is at $78,000. So you can see how all these things kind of fit together. Upper third is at 94 to almost 95,000. 4 weeks going to look similar to the monthly, not exact. Trading and closing candles above the upper first is what you want to see. That's all the way down at $60,000. That happens to be a key level on our chart. That's the top side of our risk zone that I was showing earlier. $75,000 is the upper second. We've got the $72,000 at the upper third. Now, I do think that Bitcoin, when when it does get going, it's going to outrun all of this. And then the monthly, we've got is a little bit behind in terms of its expansion set on the Bollinger Bands for the set here. 57,800 at the upper first. Upper second is where? $75,000. Above there, upper third, 92. We got 92 coming in a lot. But remember, we are going to have a lot of these time frames close and update. So these, from the band's perspective, these are going to continue up and to the right. So we will get updated targets this weekend. And then once the monthly changes over here, monthly ends on Wednesday of next week. So we will talk about this again on Wednesday, and we'll get prepped for it in Monday's macro video. I did want to let you know, if you haven't seen on my X profile, I do a lot of Spaces events throughout the week. It's kind of like a Monday, Thursday is kind of just going with the flow, whoever schedules with me, or taking on different Discord events. Tuesdays, though, I've been hanging out with the Welsh crew for their 100-day giveaway. They've been doing a fantastic job. What a fantastic community they built over there. Stuart, Bit by Bit, Rosar, and the rest of the gang over there. They've done such a great job. And I'm more than happy to keep guesting on there, talking about TA and giving my input on markets. And I thank them for having me. Wednesdays, I've been doing the Pepe Ordinals Maxi event. Of course, the wonderful Angie. She's just a really, really beautiful personality in person. And I hope that people go and listen to those spaces as well. You can follow me in from some of the other communities. We have a lot of fun over there, and she gets a lot of really good projects. We did a lot of talking about the ABC, Bitcoin Africa stuff. Man, really brilliant people, and really smart people that she gets up there to talk to, and they're building and doing really awesome stuff. Of course, Thursdays I'm kind of open. I don't remember what I did Thursday, but Friday, that's today. I co-hosted our event over at Nat Monkey's DMT. That Spaces event was just a hangout. We didn't really have anybody picked out to come up and really talk. It was just, hey, everybody's in Bitcoin Nashville. Everybody's busy. Everybody's watching events. So let's just hang out and have people come up or just come and listen to us banter. And, we had the pleasure of having Vault Layer up, the developer of Vault Layer over there. And just a brilliant individual. I don't want to butcher his name, and I thought I was saying it wrong earlier, so I do apologize to you. I'm going to make sure that I get it corrected so I can say it correctly. But during that event, just kind of hanging out, talking, shooting the breeze, learning a little bit about Vault Layer. We're going to have them back in an official capacity and get the word out first. But Block City came up, regulars on the show, and brought a guest. That guest just so happened to be Scott Page of Pink Floyd. So, Stuart, you missed it, buddy. Stuart from from Welsh's 100-day giveaway, of course, and the Welsh community. Yeah, I hope you got to meet him in Nashville, because I know that you were really excited and you wanted to hear from him when Block City had mentioned it last time. Well, Block City came up in our small little event there and absolutely blew our minds by bringing Scott Page up to talk about his project. And of course, I thank the crew from Vault Layer, the crew from Block City, and of course Scott Page for coming up and talking to us. If you would like to listen to that and you don't want to listen to 3 hours and 30 minutes of banter in between, although I do think you should listen to the Vault Layer stuff. We had some cool, like, off the cuff conversations. But if you do want to hear about what Scott Page is doing with Block City, go check out like the last 40 to 45 minutes of the most recent Spaces event. You can find it in my profile on X. You can just scroll through there. Really, really cool. Very much a unexpected surprise. I actually used to play one of the games that his company built while listening to Pink Floyd. So yeah, he's been involved. Scott Page has been involved in the tech side of the world in terms of development and software development and stuff since the 90s all the way through, and it's now into cryptos, understands what's going on, is into decentralization, and has already launched some NFTs and stuff like that. So very, very cool stuff. Go ahead and listen to him. He's got a good pitch for what he's doing, and he really does understand the industry. And he understands what we want in this space in terms of understanding the mentality behind what it is that we want. And of course, he was at a Bitcoin event in Bitcoin Nashville. So very, very cool. I appreciate everybody that comes here and watches these videos. I appreciate everyone that hangs out in the Spaces events and Discord events that I'm involved in whatever manner it might be, whether it's as a guest or as a host. Really overwhelmed with a lot of the DMs, and I don't mean overwhelmed in a bad way, but a good way when it comes to the praise or the thanks or the just the networking. So very, very cool. We're gonna keep rolling with this. Next week on Monday, I will have a Macro Mondays video. You have a wonderful weekend. A wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. And with all of that said, Landy out. Take care.